I watched this video of a restaurant owner saying a server had a bad mindset because the customer ordered takeout but ate in the restaurant. It was about tipping. Hey, my name is Levi Spires, and this is the Tip You in the App Daily Drive podcast. In this episode, I will talk about tipping and tipping culture, and maybe that this owner has the wrong mindset, or maybe the waiter. We'll talk about that. I'm definitely going to talk about my week last week, where I earned a lot of money through tips and kind of some of my mindsets that I have for tipping. And then I will answer your questions. Okay, let's watch this video of the restaurant worker here.
Something happened last night at one of my restaurants that is an example of a mindset problem that I see a lot of today. There was a guest who ordered to-go food and then picked it up and decided that he was going to eat it there. So he got sat at a table. And the server whose section that was in, he refused to serve him because he thought he wasn't going to get tipped. Now, that right there is the mindset problem I'm talking about, leading with fear instead of gratitude for the fact that we have someone in our restaurant enjoying themselves. He missed an opportunity to offer him a drink or just give him great service. Maybe he would have left some extra cash, and that guy probably would have come back with friends, spent more money, maybe even sat in his section again. And that's the problem, because hospitality is not about dealing with the transaction right in front of you. It's about building a relationship over time. And as leaders, we have to instill that into our teams, because if we don't, they are going to revert back to that short-term thinking, that short-term mindset that holds people back all the time.
Wow, so much going on there. Let's kind of just restate what I think happened here. A customer ordered to go from a restaurant, and then instead of eating it to go, decided to sit down in the restaurant, and then because the transaction's already complete, the waiter, whoever serves that section, that table, looked at it and said, I'm not going to earn a tip, and decided not to earn the tip. Now, the restaurant owner said that waiter has, a bad mindset, a short-term mindset. But let's kind of talk about this, because I think the problem is different than that. Number one, I think it's perfectly fine for a customer to order food to go and then say, hey, do you mind if I eat this here in the restaurant? That's logical. Now, maybe they're going to tip, maybe they're not going to tip. That transaction's already over. But let's talk about it first from the owner's perspective. What is he saying? He sees that customer relationship long-term, not that immediate transaction that's going on right there. And the reason why is because there's more revenue from that customer. And if that customer goes and tells his or her friends, hey, this is a great restaurant, I happened to go in there and eat, I got it to go, but I decided to eat there, they were really nice to me, that's a good thing for the business and the brand. It's a great thing. And because that person is the business owner, it's really a good thing. But the business owner blamed the waiter, saying he has a short-term, or she has a short-term mindset problem. Fear. He says operating out of fear. And what is that fear? I'm not going to get a tip. Well, maybe that's true. Maybe that's a rational fear. Now, I don't know much about restaurants or anything else like that, but I can tell you, as a Uber driver, I make a lot of my money off of tips. In fact, last week, I had a great week in tips. And I operate as if every single passenger is going to tip me. Now, they don't all tip me. I only get tipped on 1 out of every 3, maybe half of my rides. So half of the passengers tip, half of the passengers don't, give or take, something like that. But when he says he operates out of fear, maybe what that waiter is doing is making a business decision also. Now, the owner is saying, oh, that waiter has a short-term mindset problem. Well, yeah, Here's the reason why. At any moment in time, for any reason, that business owner can fire that employee. That employee gets paid every week or 2 weeks or whatever. So every single transaction is the most important transaction because it's all a short-term thing. The waiter doesn't own the business. Now, the business owner has a long-term mindset. And the reason why, they're going to get paid in the long run. In fact, in that little transaction right there with the customer ordering to go and then sitting down and potentially not tipping, the owner already got paid. The cooks already got paid. The server, for the most part, is the one that's like, I might get a little bit of a minimum wage, but I should focus my efforts because I get paid more if I focus my efforts on the people that are going to tip me. And that's my mindset as an Uber driver. I have a short-term mindset. I look at trips and I accept trips based upon the propensity of that passenger to tip me. It's a huge portion of my revenue. Now, again, I don't get tipped on every single ride, and sometimes maybe I didn't even earn a tip. But I pick trips based upon where they're going, the time of day, the length of the trip, the passenger rating, the quality of the car that they're ordering. So it's like I know if I pick up somebody at their house and they're going to go work at McDonald's, and it's a very short trip in the middle of the day, I'm probably not going to get a tip. However, if I pick up somebody from a hotel and I'm taking them to the airport and it's a really long trip and it's at 3 a.m, it's a 5-star passenger, they ordered an Uber Comfort, I may most likely get a tip because they appreciate the ride more. And now I'm not blaming the McDonald's worker if they don't want to tip me, and it's fine. But if they're, 4.7 rated passenger and they're just going to work at McDonald's and it's in the middle of the day and it's a short trip, yeah, I'm not going to get a tip. So I try to take the rides that are going to pay me the most amount of the fare, maybe help me complete a bonus, but definitely tipping, because tipping is a big portion of what I earn as a driver. And now this business owner might say, Levi, you have a short-term mindset. You know what? If you do a great job for that McDonald's worker, that's going to be good because there's a long-term relationship. Again, who's the long-term relationship with? Me or Uber? Right? Uber needs the long-term relationship. I may never see that passenger ever again. That waiter may never see that customer ever again. In fact, the business owner even kind of alludes to it. You never know. That person may sit in your section again. It's like the incentive structure is where it's all broken down. The incentive structure is for people like me and people like the waiter to earn a tip. Now, I tell you what, if I pick up that McDonald's worker, they're going to get amazing service. They're going to get a clean car, a safe, prompt transportation, a professional ride. I'll load and unload everything. I'm going to treat them the exact same way that I would treat somebody taking a super early morning airport ride, Uber Comfort. Everybody's going to get an amazing experience. But one's going to tip me, one's not. So I have to feed my family the same way that business owner has to feed his or her family. Right? Hey, Dara and Uber has to feed their families. So we all have incentive structures. So what could fix this? That's kind of what I was thinking about here. If we could change the incentive structure, maybe I would take more rides. Well, what's the incentive for me? What's the incentive for the waiter? To get paid short term. No matter what Uber or the business owner talk about long-term relationships, we don't have long-term relationships with Uber or the restaurant. Those are all temporary. At any moment in time, Uber could shut this app off and say, Levi, you're no longer a driver. So I'm not incentivized, no matter how much you pay me, for long-term relationships. It's all short-term. So what does that mean? Pay me more in the short term. Make the McDonald's ride worth more. Now, they do that through bonuses, right? So one of the things that Uber does is say, hey, if you complete 5 trips in the next 2 hours, we'll give you an extra $10 or whatever. They have different quests and bonuses, and every driver around the nation has different things. There you go. So I would take that ride, the $5 McDonald's ride, because I know I'm going to make an extra $2 on it, and it's really short, whatever. So, yeah, pay me more. Now, people that are anti-tipping are going to say, like, yeah, of course, that's always the solution. But what you're forgetting is that it just costs you more. See, the tipping, when you earn a tip, you actually get a chance, or excuse me, let me say that again. Somebody just pulled up and distracted me. When you have the power of tipping as a consumer, you don't have to pay for bad service. So if the service is poor, you don't have to tip. What happens with the incentive structure that we just talked about, where I get paid more for whatever reason on a shorter trip or whatever, now it's just going to charge you more ultimately as a consumer, and you lose authority, or maybe you lose control over that situation where you could actually say, you know what, that service was really poor. I do not want to tip that driver. But I can also understand why I wouldn't tip. I can understand why people don't tip no matter how great the service is. And the reason why is, like, why should they? They also have a short-term relationship. They also are only having these one-time transactions with an Uber driver. Why would I tip an Uber driver if I'm never going to see that person again? Like, there's no incentive structure there. So here's my solution. Here's what I was thinking about. What if Uber, or this business owner, the restaurant owner, let the customer and the waiter, or the passenger and the driver, establish a long-term relationship? Now, I don't know how to do that through a restaurant, because I don't know. I barely even got to eat, much less manage the restaurant. But I can tell you through Uber, if Uber allowed me and that passenger to coordinate through their app and build a long-term relationship, now we've got something. See, now Uber can delegate the tipping out in a good way. Because let's say I do go pick up that McDonald's worker, and that guy or girl gives me $1. And every time I go to pick them up, I get a clean car and they give me an extra $1. That'd be amazing. And we can start to coordinate through the app. But Uber doesn't do that. Uber almost forbids. They're trying to set up a situation where drivers and passengers never have a long-term relationship. Now, I drive in a pretty small area. I'm here in Syracuse. I drive in Binghamton and Watertown and Ithaca. I drive all over central New York. Very small places. And I've given a lot of the same people rides over and over again. And I know who are the ones that tip me and who are the ones that haven't. So there are times that I've gotten a request and I know that house, or I know where I'm going, or I'm like, I know that passenger rating. That person, I don't know their name, but I'm like, that person didn't tip me. I remember that person. And I have a short-term relationship. I have a short-term mindset. My job is to make money that week, because next week, Uber could say, you're no longer a driver with our platform. So it's all about incentive structures. And I think tipping is a really, really, really good thing. But it has to be set up in a way to not only just like make it some sort of automatic transaction, but in a way to reward drivers or waiters or whoever for doing exceptional service. And it has to be set up in a way where there aren't freeloaders. I think I do a really good job of finding who tips and who doesn't tip. I don't know. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at my earnings last week. I'm not going to go through them all in detail, but let's go to the next section here. Before you do that, hold on. What do you think? What do you think about tipping? What do you think about that business owner, the restaurant owner? Is he wrong? Is he right? Should that waiter have had a long-term mindset to help the business out in the long run? Or should the restaurant owner restructure the incentives to give the waiter financial reward for some sort of long-term vision? Well, that's a really interesting conversation. All right. Last week I had a pretty good week. I was really happy with it. I've been doing a lot of Uber Eats. I don't know the exact ratio, so I'm not going to go through it in detail here, but I generated $13 in revenue. I did about 900 miles. I do a lot of miles. I know. I wish I lived closer to Uber places, but I live out in the country, so it is what it is. But take a look at this. This is what number I wanted to talk about. $599 in fares. Right, that covers the cost, makes me a minimum wage employee for the most part. I did get $156 in promotions, so that's an incentive to take non-tipping, short, low trips. And the reason why is because, hey, if I complete these rides in a certain amount of time, I'll get a promotion, a quest, or a bonus. And then tip, $258 in tips. Now, I'm going to say about half of that was through Uber Eats, doing food deliveries. In fact, I did a couple of even grocery runs. I did some Walmart deliveries and things like that. But $125, if not more, were tips on rides. I prioritized tips. And again, I made $258 that week on 58 trips in tips. My job is to make as much money as possible. I would love for the fares to be more, but they aren't. I'd love to have more quests and promotions, but I don't get that many bonuses through Uber. But I know every single trip is a tip opportunity, and I bust my butt to earn a tip. And hey, I made $258 in tips. That's a good thing. And I think it's a good thing for the passenger too. But again, let me give you my criteria for accepting a trip to help me think whether or not I'm going to earn a tip. The number one thing that I look for is where the passenger is going to and from. Typically, hotels, restaurants, airports, those type of things, people are more likely to tip. The second thing I look for is what type of ride did they order. If they ordered the cheapest Uber X, they're trying to save money, and I get that. But sometimes they order Uber Comfort. That's another good thing. An Uber Comfort passenger is more likely to tip than an Uber X passenger. The third thing I look for is the length of the trip. Now, this is hard when you're working on short trips to earn a promotion or a quest, but longer trips tend to give more tips. For whatever reason, you have more time to build rapport with the passenger, give them a better experience. And I'm not saying talk to them. I'm just saying, like, if on a very short ride, there's just not enough time to set the car up in a way that says, hey, that really matters a lot to me. Whereas if you go on a long trip, you could say, adjust the temperature in the car or the music to their liking, or give them some time to get on the phone or whatever it might be. Now, another thing is, are they out in the country or out in the middle of nowhere? They tend to tip more. And the reason why is there's less drivers. And they appreciate that a driver who's coming from the city, and I'm saying the big city of Syracuse, and they come all the way out to the country to get them, they tend to appreciate that more, and they'll tip more. Timing. In the middle of the day, you're going to get less tips a lot of the time. In the middle of the night, or 3 a.m., you're going to get a tip. And the final thing, I promise you it works every time. Look at the passenger's rating. Nice people, Uber drivers, rate them highly. There tend to be 4.9 or 5-star passengers. People that are jerks are people that tend to not tip, and they tend to get lower ratings. Now, I don't rate the passenger based on whether they tip me or not, because I don't know. But if they were a jerk in the car, and you know what I'm talking about, passengers that just jump in the car, they jump on the phone really loud, they don't even ask you, they don't say hello to you, they're just not tipping people. And so I'm like, well, that's a 3-star passenger, that's a 2-star passenger. Or if they make me wait for whatever reason, I'm going to rate them lower. And odds are I'm not going to get a tip from them. So passenger rating. So ultimately, I try to find reserved airport trips, comfort rides from remote areas to an airport early in the morning, 5-star passengers. That's what I'm looking for. So every single trip that comes in, I think to myself, would I get a tip? That's one of many calculations that we're all doing. But yeah, for last week, I did pretty well. Okay, now your questions. I think your questions are great. Let's take a look here. Diamond status. Alien of my mind, pretty good handle there, says, Diamond Uber support good. Is there a specific number you are calling? Like, it's a joke, right? I've yet to find someone who will listen to what I'm trying to say. I give Uber Diamond support or not a solid 4.5 out of 10. He's talking about a video that I made almost 3 years ago. I'm not a Diamond driver. I used to be. And in that video, I basically say the only value potentially in being a Diamond driver is that you could get Diamond support. But that went away like a year or so ago. Now you're texting. It used to be great. I used to be able to like call, I drop a passenger off and then call Diamond support and talk to them on my way to my next passenger and get the problem resolved before I even picked up my next passenger. But that value went away. So doesn't work anymore like that. So I don't think there's any value in being a Diamond driver. I have no special numbers for you to call, but I do have videos that are older that people still watch. So, should you be a Diamond driver? I don't know. I don't know. Okay. I made a video about every trip being dangerous, potential for danger. And Roxy, she asked me, she said, do you run a camera off the glass roof to see or hear better in the back seat? I hear better if they're not right on the right side, plus they can get out onto the curb. What she's talking about is a couple things. Number one is I have a camera. You can see it right up here. And instead of it pointing out the back of my car, I already have that with my Red Tiger F17 Elite camera. Instead of having that pointing out the back, I have it pointed inside the car so I can see down into the vehicle over the passenger's shoulders. So in addition to having a camera pointing this way, I did that. Now there's no microphone to that. The microphone's still up here, but I can hear well enough. I normally have the volume on the music so low that the passenger talking to me this way, I'll hear them projected that way. And what she's also talking about is drivers, potentially me, I know Roxy, I want the passenger sitting in this seat, the back right position. That way I can see them out of the corner of my eye. They're not sitting right behind me, and I definitely don't want the passenger up in the front seat with me. So if I'm picking up one person, I want this person sitting right here. The cameras are pointed in a way for me to optimize that. And then I can let them in and out on the curb. When they sit over on this side, over here, they're sitting right behind me. I can't see them. My cameras can still see them, so it's not too bad. But now they're going to try to open the door into traffic. So I want the passengers to go in and out this door. So yeah, so this camera works really well. It just points right into the car cabin, and I get to see over the passenger shoulder. I like that a lot. The final thing, Texan, he asked me, he goes, how much make your YouTube channel? I think what he meant was, how much do I make on my YouTube channel? And not enough to be a full-time YouTuber. How's that? It's really hard to be a full-time YouTuber. I probably need to get to 100,000 subs to be a full-time YouTuber, making $10,000 a month. I can make some money as a YouTuber for sure. And I want to shout out to people that are sponsoring the channel, Red Tiger Cameras, Gig U, building a relationship with them. And then of course, Lace Fit Mats. I'm very grateful for sponsors, and I'm very grateful for you, the people that are subscribing to watch all of these videos. And that matters a lot to me. The first thing you can do if you want to, become a member of Thrive. I make custom, unique videos just for the Thrive members. It's $3 a month. Join through this channel, and that would be really helpful. If you don't want to pay, I get it. Don't worry about it. Join the Facebook group. We have a Tip You in the App Facebook group just for drivers only, and we try to keep it fun and light in there. And I do enjoy that Facebook group. But yeah, my goal for this year, for 2026, is to make Uber driving fun again. It's been a grind the last few years. It's been really difficult, and I think I'm finding a good sweet spot where I'm driving enough to enjoy it and get some really valuable income out of it, but I'm not stressing too much about surges or locations, and just trying to have more games and more fun things. So I really appreciate each and every one of you drivers. I want you to be safe, healthy, and happy. And I want you to know that I'm cheering for you. Be well. Bye.